My name is Emily, and at 32 years old, I thought I knew what it meant to be unwelcome. For 7 years, my mother-in-law made it clear with every cold glance and whispered comment that I would never be good enough for her son. But nothing prepared me for the moment my 7-year-old daughter handed her grandmother a handmade Christmas ornament, and the words that came out of that woman's mouth shattered our family forever. What started as a quiet insult whispered to a child became a war that exposed secrets, lies, and an obsession darker than I ever imagined. If you want to know how far a mother will go to keep control of her son, keep watching. And please, drop a comment below telling me if you've ever dealt with a toxic in-law. Hit that like button and subscribe for more stories about families, betrayal, and the strength it takes to protect the ones you love. I watched Lily's small fingers carefully press tiny glass beads onto the red felt ornament, her tongue peeking out in concentration the way it always did when she was focused on something important. Each bead was placed with the kind of care only a 7-year-old could muster when making something for someone they loved. "Is this enough glitter, Mommy?" she asked, holding up the ornament that sparkled under our kitchen light. "It's perfect, sweetheart," I said, forcing brightness into my voice even as that familiar knot tightened in my stomach. Perfect wouldn't matter to Elaine. Nothing I did, nothing Lily did, would ever be perfect enough for my mother-in-law. Lily beamed and went back to her work, adding one more careful line of glue. "Grandma's gonna love it. Red is her favorite color, right? That's what Daddy said." I nodded, not trusting myself to speak. Elaine's favorite color changed depending on who she wanted to impress that week. Last Christmas, it had been gold. The year before, silver. But Daniel had told Lily it was red, so red it would be. The next morning at breakfast, Daniel caught me staring at the wrapped ornament sitting on our counter. He reached across the table and squeezed my hand, his wedding ring cool against my skin. "Mom promised she'd behave this year," he said softly, reading my mind the way he always could. I wanted to believe him. I really did. But 7 years of marriage had taught me that Elaine's promises were as reliable as a chocolate teapot. 7 years of passive-aggressive comments about my cooking, my clothes, my parenting. 7 years of cold stares across holiday tables and pointed references to Claire, the perfect woman Daniel should have married instead of me. "I know," I lied, squeezing his hand back. Lily looked up from her cereal, milk dripping from her spoon. "Do you think Grandma will like my ornament? I made it her favorite color." "She'll love it, Princess," Daniel said with the confidence of a man who never had to doubt his place in his mother's heart. My phone buzzed on the table. A text from Marissa, Daniel's sister. "Heads up. Mom's in one of her moods today. Just be prepared." My heart sank like a stone. Elaine's moods were legendary, and they almost always exploded in my direction. I typed back a quick thanks and slipped my phone into my pocket, trying to keep my face neutral for Lily's sake. The drive to Elaine's house felt too short. Her large colonial sat at the end of a tree-lined street, every window glowing with warm light, the front lawn decorated with an elaborate display of illuminated reindeer and candy canes. It looked like a Christmas card. It always did. Elaine had a gift for making everything look perfect on the surface. "Look at all the lights." Lily pressed her face against the car window, her breath fogging the glass. Daniel parked in the circular driveway behind his uncle's SUV. I could hear music drifting from inside, something classical and festive. Through the front windows, I could see silhouettes of family members already gathering, drinks in hand, laughing. I grabbed the ornament from the back seat and took a deep breath. The cold December air bit at my cheeks as we walked to the front door, Lily skipping ahead in her red velvet dress. Elaine opened the door before we could knock, as if she'd been watching for us. She looked stunning as always, her silver hair perfectly styled, wearing an elegant cream sweater that probably cost more than my monthly grocery budget. "Daniel." Her face lit up like sunrise as she pulled my husband into a tight hug. "You look so handsome. Come in, come in. Everyone's waiting." She released him and turned to Lily, her smile cooling by several degrees. "Hello, Lily. Don't touch anything breakable, please. I just had the house cleaned."
"No hook, no worms."
Just that stiff, tight-lipped acknowledgement that my daughter existed. I didn't even get that much. Elaine's eyes slid past me as if I were wallpaper, already turning to lead Daniel inside. The house smelled like cinnamon and pine. A massive tree dominated the living room, decorated with what had to be thousands of dollars worth of ornaments, each one placed with mathematical precision. The fireplace crackled cheerfully. A Christmas music played from hidden speakers. It was a scene from a magazine, and I felt immediately out of place in my simple green dress and department store heels. I followed Daniel and Lily inside, trying to shake off the chill that had nothing to do with the weather outside. Family members clustered in small groups throughout the first floor. Daniel's uncle waved from the kitchen. His cousin Sarah nodded politely from the couch. Marissa caught my eye and gave me a small, sympathetic smile that confirmed her warning text had been serious. I was heading toward Marissa when I heard it. Elaine's voice, not quite a whisper, but low enough she thought I wouldn't hear, talking to her sister near the dining room. A real woman would have given him a son by now. She glanced pointedly across the room at Lily, who was showing her little cousin Noah the craft supplies she'd brought.
My feet stopped moving.
My chest tightened. I'd heard variations of this before, always in passing, always just loud enough to wound but quiet enough that confronting her would make me look paranoid. Daniel appeared at my elbow, 2 glasses of wine in his hands. He offered me one, his brow furrowed. "You okay?" "Fine," I said automatically, taking the glass. The wine tasted like vinegar in my mouth. He studied my face. "Emily, your mother was just telling your aunt about her preferences for grandchildren," I said quietly, trying to keep the edge out of my voice. Daniel's jaw tightened. He glanced toward his mother, then back at me. "I'll talk to her." "Don't." I touched his arm. "It'll just make it worse. And Lily doesn't need to see us arguing with her grandmother." He looked like he wanted to protest, but we both knew I was right. Any confrontation would result in Elaine playing the victim, making Daniel feel guilty for defending me, and somehow turning the whole thing into proof that I was poisoning him against his own mother. I walked away toward the kitchen, needing space to breathe. Over the next hour, I watched Elaine work the room like the conductor of an orchestra, orchestrating conversations and controlling the mood. She praised Daniel's cousin for her new promotion. She complimented Sarah's dress. She asked Noah about his soccer games with genuine interest. And she watched me with those cold blue eyes, tracking my every movement like a cat watching a mouse. In a quiet corner, I overheard her talking to Marissa, her voice dripping with disdain. "That child looks nothing like Daniel. I still have my doubts." Marissa's response was too quiet for me to hear, but the look on her face was pained. I gripped my wine glass tighter, my knuckles white. When Elaine announced dinner was ready, she assigned tasks like a general deploying troops. Daniel's cousin was asked to bring out the rolls. Sarah was trusted with the expensive gravy boat. Marissa was given the honor of arranging the salad. I was told to refill water glasses, move the heavy serving platters from the kitchen to the dining room, and fetch extra chairs from the garage. My back started aching from the trips up and down the basement stairs. My feet hurt in my heels. But I kept going, kept smiling, kept my mouth shut because causing a scene would only prove whatever narrative Elaine had already constructed about me. Finally, everyone gathered around the dining room table. The spread was magnificent as always. Turkey that had probably been brined for days, homemade stuffing, 3 kinds of potatoes, vegetables glazed to perfection. Elaine's table looked like something from a cooking show. I slid into my seat next to Daniel, Lily on my other side. The little ornament sat in Lily's lap, wrapped carefully in tissue paper. She'd been waiting all evening for the right moment to present it. The conversation flowed around me. Laughter, stories, the comfortable rhythm of a family that had known each other forever. I smiled when appropriate, nodded, contributed when directly addressed. But the whole time, I felt Elaine's eyes on me. Watching, judging, waiting. The storm was coming. I could feel it in my bones. Dessert was being cleared when Lily finally worked up the courage. She'd been clutching that wrapped ornament through the entire meal, her little fingers leaving wrinkles in the tissue paper. I'd seen her rehearsing what she'd say, her lips moving silently as she practiced. She slid off her chair and walked around the table toward where Elaine sat at the head, looking regal in her high-backed chair. My daughter's steps were small, careful, the way children move when they're nervous, but determined. Grandma? Lily's voice was soft and hopeful. Elaine looked down at her, eyebrows raised. The conversation around the table quieted slightly. Lily held out the ornament, the tissue paper crinkling. I made this for you. Daddy said red is your favorite color, so I used red felt and these pretty beads, and I put extra glitter on it because I know you like sparkly things. For one heartbeat, I thought maybe it would be okay. Maybe Elaine would smile. Maybe she'd thank Lily and hang it on her perfect tree. Maybe this one time, she'd see the love and effort a 7-year-old had poured into a handmade gift. Then Elaine's face twisted. She took the ornament, unwrapped it with 2 fingers like it might contaminate her, and held it up to the light. Her lip curled. This. Her voice cut through the remaining conversation like a knife. You expect me to hang this on my tree? Every fork in the room stopped moving. Every conversation died mid-sentence. Lily's smile faltered. I made it myself. I worked really hard. I started to stand, but before I could move, before I could put myself between them, Elaine leaned down close to Lily's face. What she said next, she said quietly. Quietly enough that only those closest could hear. Quietly enough that she could later deny it. But loud enough that every word hit my daughter like a slap. Kids like you don't belong in this family. Elaine's voice was venomous, intimate, cruel. Dirty children shouldn't cling to my son's name. The world stopped. Lily froze, her whole body going rigid. I watched in horror as confusion washed over her face, then hurt, then a devastation so complete it made my heart physically ache. The ornament slipped from her trembling fingers and hit the hardwood floor with a soft thud. Elaine! I was on my feet before I realized I'd moved, my chair scraping loudly against the floor. But Elaine wasn't done. She pushed the ornament back toward Lily with her foot, like it was trash. Tell your mother to stop pretending she's welcome here. Lily's eyes filled with tears. Her bottom lip quivered. She looked up at me with a question in her eyes that no 7-year-old should have to ask. Why doesn't she love me? That's enough. My voice cracked, shaking with rage and pain. Lily whispered something so soft I barely heard it over the ringing in my ears. Daddy said you'd be nice today. The silence that followed was deafening. Daniel's chair hit the floor as he stood.
Mom.
What did you just say to her? Elaine's transformation was instant and Oscar-worthy. Her hand flew to her chest. Her eyes went wide with shock. Her voice took on a wounded, trembling quality. Daniel, how could you accuse me of such a thing? I would never say anything hurtful to a child. You know me better than that. But Lily looked up at her father with those tear-filled eyes and said, clearly, devastatingly, she said I don't belong because of Mommy. The entire room inhaled as one. Elaine's mask cracked, just for a second. I saw it. The flash of something dark and satisfied before she covered it with more theatrical shock. That is a lie. Daniel, your daughter is lying, and your wife has been coaching her to turn you against me. Daniel slammed both palms on the table so hard the plates jumped. His face had gone pale, then red, his jaw clenched so tight I could see the muscle jumping. Answer me right now, Mother.
What
did you
say to my daughter?
His chair lay on its side behind him. The entire family watched in frozen horror. I knelt down and pulled Lily into my arms. She was shaking, tears streaming down her face, her breath coming in little gasps. I could feel her heart hammering against my chest. Sure, baby. It's okay. You didn't do anything wrong. I stroked her hair, trying to comfort her even as my own hands trembled with fury. The ornament lay on the floor between us and Elaine, some of its beads scattered, the felt crumpled. All of Lily's careful work destroyed in one cruel moment. Daniel's palms were still flat on the table, his knuckles white. I'm waiting for an answer, Mother. Elaine drew herself up, clutching her pearls in a gesture I'd seen her use 100 times when she wanted to play the martyr. How dare you take that tone with me? After everything I've done for you, all the sacrifices I've made, you're going to believe her lies over your own mother? She pointed at me like I was something diseased. Your wife has been poisoning you against me since the day you married her. Can't you see what she's doing? She's trying to destroy this family. I held Lily tighter, her face buried in my shoulder. I could feel her tears soaking through my dress. Elaine. I tried to keep my voice steady, but it shook despite my best efforts. Lily is 7 years old. She's shaking. She doesn't lie. Just tell them what you said. Elaine's laugh was sharp and bitter. Children mimic their parents' dramas, Emily. Perhaps if you weren't so desperate to play the victim all the time, your daughter wouldn't be so good at it. Marissa stood up from her seat, her face pale. Mom, I heard you. I was right here. You weren't being kind. Elaine whirled on her daughter like a snake. Stay out of this, Marissa. You always take her side. Ever since she married your brother, you've been against me. That's not true and you know it, Marissa said quietly, but her voice wavered. Lily pulled back from my shoulder just enough to look up at me, her face blotchy and red. Mommy, did I do something bad? Is Grandma mad because I made the ornament wrong? My heart shattered into 1,000 pieces.
No, baby. No.
You made it perfect. This isn't about you. I smoothed her hair back from her forehead, trying to smile, even though I wanted to scream. Daniel moved around the table toward his mother, his movements controlled, but his fury palpable. If you can't respect my wife and daughter, we're leaving. Right now. Elaine's voice rose to a shriek.
Phoenix, leave.
Maybe if you'd married Claire like you should have, we wouldn't be in this mess. Claire wouldn't have destroyed our family like SHE has. The name dropped like a bomb. Daniel stopped walking. His whole body went still. When he spoke, his voice was ice cold.
Mom.
Claire left me. She cheated on me with my best friend. You know this. Stop rewriting history to fit whatever delusion you're living in. Gasps rippled through the family. Elaine's sister put a hand over her mouth. Daniel's uncle shifted uncomfortably. Elaine stuttered. You never proved, she said it was just. But something clicked in my head. A pattern I'd seen but never fully connected. All those comments about Lily not looking like Daniel. All those pointed questions about when exactly we'd started dating. The way Elaine would study my daughter's features like she was looking for evidence of something. You've been telling people Lily isn't Daniel's, haven't you? The words came out of my mouth before I could stop them. The room went so quiet I could hear the Christmas music still playing softly in the background, sickeningly cheerful. Elaine said nothing. Her silence was louder than any confession. Daniel's face drained of all color.
Mom.
Tell me you didn't. Still nothing. Tell me. Elaine lifted her chin defiantly. I have a right to protect my son's interests. Oh my God. Daniel ran both hands through his hair, pacing. Oh my God. You actually did. He turned to me, and I saw something in his eyes I'd never seen before.
Shame.
Deep, crushing shame. Emily, I need to tell you something. My stomach dropped. What? 3 years ago, Mom kept implying things. Saying Lily didn't look like our family. Suggesting maybe you'd, and I knew it wasn't true. I knew you'd never, but she wouldn't stop, and I just wanted to prove her wrong once and for all. So He couldn't finish the sentence. You took a paternity test. My voice sounded hollow. I'm so sorry. I wasn't doubting you, I swear. I just wanted her to shut up about it. I wanted proof I could show her, so she'd stop. The betrayal hit me like a physical blow. Not because he'd doubted me, but because he'd done it in secret. Because he'd let his mother drive a wedge between us that I hadn't even known existed. The room erupted in whispers. Relatives turned to each other, shocked, scandalized, eating up the drama. Lily was still in my arms, not understanding the full weight of what was happening, but knowing it was bad. So bad. Elaine looked around at her family, at their shocked faces, and I could see her realizing she'd gone too far. She was trapped, cornered by her own venom. I only did it for your own good. Her voice cracked. That child doesn't look like us. Anyone with eyes can see it. I was protecting you from the truth. Daniel knelt down in front of Lily, his eyes red-rimmed. He gently took her face in his hands. Lily, look at me, princess. You are my daughter.
Mine.
You belong with me, with us. Grandma is wrong. Do you understand? You are exactly where you're supposed to be. Lily nodded, tears still streaming. Promise. I promise. He kissed her forehead and pulled both of us into a hug. Over his shoulder, I saw Elaine watching us. Her face had gone cold again, calculating. She straightened her sweater, smoothed her hair. We'll see about that, she said quietly, almost to herself. But I heard her, and the chill in those words made my blood run cold. Daniel made the decision quickly. We're leaving.
Now.
I carried Lily toward the front hallway, her arms wrapped tight around my neck. She kept asking the same question, over and over, each time breaking my heart a little more. Why doesn't Grandma like me, Mommy? What did I do wrong? Nothing, baby. You did nothing wrong. I kissed the top of her head, breathing in the strawberry scent of her shampoo, trying to keep myself together for her sake. Behind us, I could hear family members murmuring, some trying to approach Daniel, others backing away like they didn't want to get involved. Marissa was crying. Someone's phone was out, probably already texting other relatives about the disaster they'd just witnessed. We were almost to the door when I heard footsteps behind us. Elaine, you think you can just walk out and embarrass me like this? Her voice was low, dangerous, completely different from the theatrical victim she'd played for the crowd. I'll make sure this family knows exactly what kind of woman you are, Emily. I turned slowly, keeping Lily's face tucked against my shoulder so she wouldn't see her grandmother's expression. I've done nothing but try to be part of this family, Elaine. She stepped closer, and I could smell her expensive perfume, see the fury barely contained behind her eyes. Try harder. Her smile was cruel, sharp. Some of us know the truth about you. What truth?
What are you talking about?
But she just smiled wider and walked away, leaving me standing there with a sense of dread settling into my bones. The drive home was silent except for the sound of the heater and Lily's occasional sniffles. Daniel gripped the steering wheel so tight his knuckles were bone-white. His jaw clenched and unclenched. I could practically hear the thoughts racing through his head. In the back seat, Lily had fallen asleep, still clutching the crumpled ornament she'd made. Some of the beads had fallen off. The felt was wrinkled, but she held onto it like it was precious. When we got home, Daniel carried Lily straight to her room. I followed, helping him take off her shoes and tuck her under her favorite blanket. She stirred but didn't wake, exhausted from crying. Daddy, she murmured, half asleep. I'm here, princess. Love you. Love you too, baby girl. So much. We stood in her doorway for a long moment, watching her sleep, both of us trying to process what had just happened. Downstairs, Daniel poured himself a drink. Scotch, neat. He didn't usually drink hard liquor. You should have told me. I leaned against the kitchen counter, arms crossed. I know. 3 years, Daniel. You kept that from me for 3 years. I thought if I ignored it, it would go away. He laughed bitterly. How stupid was that? Pretty stupid. But I said it without anger. I was too tired to be angry. He set down his glass and looked at me, really looked at me. There's more you need to know. My stomach tightened.
What?
Mom's been talking to extended family. For years. Telling them you trapped me. That I was still in love with Claire when we met. That Lily looks suspicious. She's been planting seeds of doubt behind our backs since before we even got married. I felt sick. Why didn't you tell me? Because I'm an idiot. He ran his hands through his hair. Because I thought if I just kept defending you, kept shutting her down, she'd eventually give up. I didn't want to hurt you with her poison. I wanted to protect you from it. By keeping secrets? By keeping secrets, he admitted. Which clearly didn't work.
My phone rang.
Marissa. I answered, putting her on speaker. Emily, I'm so sorry. Her voice was thick with tears. I should have said something years ago. I should have stood up to her. It's not your fault, Marissa. Yes, it is. I've watched her do this to every woman Daniel ever dated. She sabotaged his relationship with Claire before Claire cheated. She drove away his girlfriend in college. She's been doing this since Dad left. Daniel's head snapped up. What? Mom's been getting worse. more paranoid, more obsessed with keeping you close. After the divorce, she kind of fixated on you, like you were the only thing she had left. That was 15 years ago, Daniel said. I know, but she never dealt with it, never got help, and it's gotten worse over time. Marissa took a shaky breath. There's something else you need to know. I closed my eyes, bracing myself. Mom has a box in her bedroom. It's full of things about Emily. Photos she printed from Facebook. Screenshots of posts from years ago. Old pictures Daniel posted when you first started dating. She's been collecting them. Like evidence. Evidence of what? I asked. I don't know. But she labels things, writes dates, makes notes in the margins. It's not normal, you guys. I think she's planning something. After we hung up, I sat down heavily at the kitchen table. My hands were shaking. She's obsessed, I said quietly. This isn't just dislike or jealousy. This is something deeper. Daniel sat across from me, his face haggard. What do we do? I don't know. We sat in silence, both of us trying to process the revelation that my mother-in-law wasn't just mean or difficult. She was unstable, obsessed with controlling Daniel, and willing to destroy anyone who got in the way of that control. The next morning, I woke to find an envelope that had been slipped under our front door. No name, no return address.
No postmark.
Inside was a single piece of paper with a printed message. A mother protects her son. You can't hide forever. My hands went cold. I looked out the front window at our quiet suburban street. Cars parked along the curb. A neighbor walking their dog. Everything normal. But someone had been here. In the night. At our door. Daniel came down the stairs, took one look at my face, and asked, "What's wrong?" I handed him the note. His face went pale as he read it. Then red. Then pale again. We need to call the police. And say what? Someone left us a cryptic note? They'll say it's a family dispute. Emily, this is a threat. I know. I took the note back, staring at the words. The font was generic. The paper standard printer paper. Nothing traceable. But the message was clear. Elaine wasn't done with us. Not by a long shot. This wasn't over. This was just beginning. I looked at Daniel, and in his eyes, I saw the same fear I felt. We thought the confrontation at Christmas was the end. But we were wrong. It was only the opening move in a war we didn't know we were fighting. And Elaine held more weapons than we'd ever imagined. I woke up the morning after Christmas with that threatening note still burning in my mind. It sat on my nightstand where I'd left it, those words staring at me in the early light filtering through our bedroom curtains. A mother protects her son. You can't hide forever. Daniel was already up. I could hear him downstairs, the coffee maker gurgling, his footsteps pacing across the kitchen floor. He'd barely slept. Neither had I. When I came down, he was staring at his phone, his jaw tight. What is it? I asked, though part of me didn't want to know. 3 missed calls from Mom. 4 from Uncle Richard. 6 texts from various cousins. He set the phone down like it had burned him. It's starting. What's starting? The campaign. He looked at me, with exhausted eyes. She's not going to let this go, Emily. You know that, right? I pour myself coffee, with shaking hands. I know. He pulled me into a hug, and we stood there in our kitchen, holding onto each other like we were bracing for a hurricane. I have to go check on some repairs at the office building, he said finally. Burst pipe from the freeze. I'll be back in a few hours. After he left, I tried to focus on normal things. I made Lily pancakes shaped like snowmen. I helped her pick out clothes for the day. I suggested we go to the craft store to get supplies for a new ornament, one we could keep for ourselves this time. At the store, Lily held my hand as we browsed the aisles of felt and beads and ribbons. She seemed quieter than usual, more subdued. The light in her eyes had dimmed. Will Grandma like the next one I make? She asked, holding up a package of silver beads. My throat closed. Baby, I think this time we make ornaments just for us. For our tree at home. But what if she's still mad? She's not mad at you, sweetheart. Sometimes grown-ups have problems that have nothing to do with kids. She nodded, but I could tell she didn't quite understand. How could she? I barely understood it myself. We were in the checkout line when I noticed them. Two women I didn't recognize, standing near the magazine rack, staring at me. When I made eye contact, one of them leaned close to the other and whispered something. The second woman's eyes widened. Then they hurried away. A cold feeling settled in my stomach. When we got home, I checked my phone and felt my knees go weak. 17 new messages. All from Daniel's extended family. People I barely knew. People I saw once a year at holiday gatherings. I opened the first one with trembling fingers. Is it true you cheated on Daniel? The second, Elaine said your daughter isn't his. What's happening? The third, you should be ashamed bringing drama into this family. We always knew something was off about you. Message after message. Accusation after accusation. All carefully worded. All designed to sound concerned rather than cruel. But the intent was clear. Elaine had struck first. I sat down hard on the couch, scrolling through the messages, each one feeling like a slap. Lily was in her room, safe from this poison. But for how long? How long before kids at school heard something? Before teachers looked at me differently? When Daniel came home 2 hours later, his phone was ringing off the hook.
Don't answer it, I said.
It's my family. They're calling because your mother has been spreading lies.
Look.
I handed him my phone. His face went from confused to angry to devastated as he read through the messages. His hand clenched around the phone so hard I thought it might crack. She's telling everyone I cheated. That Lily isn't yours. That I've been manipulating you for years. My voice broke. Daniel, she's trying to destroy me. He called his mother immediately. I could only hear his side of the conversation, but Elaine's calm, satisfied tone came through clearly even from where I sat. What did you tell them? Daniel demanded. Her voice, faint but audible. The truth, Daniel. Just the truth. Lily, I asked my daughter. We've been through this. If your wife is innocent, why are people talking? Then she hung up. Daniel stared at his phone, his face pale. She knows exactly what she's doing. She won't stop, I whispered. She wants us isolated. She wants your family to turn against me, so you'll have to choose, and either way, she wins. What do you mean, either way? If you choose me, you lose your family, and she gets to play the victim, the poor mother whose son abandoned her. If you choose them, I lose you, and she gets what she's wanted all along. You, back under her control. Daniel sank onto the couch beside me. I'm not choosing anyone but you and Lily. But you're right. She's been using manipulation and gossip as weapons for years. I just never realized how effective they were. That evening, after we'd put Lily to bed with extra hugs and reassurances, I was cleaning up the kitchen when my email pinged. The sender was anonymous. The subject line read, Truth. I shouldn't have opened it. Every instinct screamed not to. But my finger was already clicking. The email contained a single attachment. A photo. It was me sitting at a cafe downtown across from a man. The photo had been cropped to make it look intimate, our heads close together, his hand visible on the table near mine. I recognized the man immediately. Greg from accounting at my old job. We'd met for coffee 6 months ago to discuss a professional reference for a position I was applying for.
Daniel knew about it.
We'd laughed about how formal and awkward Greg had been. But in this photo, with everything else cropped out, with the angle carefully chosen, it looked like something else entirely. Below the photo, a message. Shall we send this to Daniel? Or would you prefer to tell him yourself? My hands went numb. Daniel. My voice came out strangled. He appeared in the doorway, took one look at my face, and was at my side in an instant. What? What's wrong? I showed him the email, my whole body shaking. He stared at the photo for a long moment. Then he said, very quietly, That's Greg. From your old job. You met him about the reference letter. Yes. I know. I remember. He looked at me, and there was no doubt in his eyes. Just fury. She's staging this. She's creating evidence where none exists. She has someone following me, Daniel. Taking pictures. Building a case. The reality of it hit us both at the same time. This wasn't just gossip. This was systematic, calculated. Elaine wasn't just spreading rumors. She was constructing an entire false narrative, complete with manufactured proof. "We need to document everything," Daniel said. "Every message, every email, every threat. We need evidence of our own." That night, Marissa showed up at our door unannounced. Her eyes were red from crying, and she was shaking. "I need to tell you something," she said, coming inside without waiting for an invitation. "And you're not going to like it." We sat in the living room, and Marissa pulled out her phone, scrolling through something before handing it to Daniel. "I went to Mom's house today, while she was at her book club. I found the box I told you about." On her phone were photos. Dozens of them. Pictures of Emily's box. Inside were printed Facebook posts from my profile, some dating back 7 years. Screenshots of conversations between me and Daniel from when we were first dating, which meant Elaine had somehow accessed his accounts. Photos of me with male coworkers, each one marked with a question mark in Elaine's handwriting. There were timelines, flowcharts, notes in the margins questioning dates, locations, relationships. And there, at the bottom of the box, was a folder labeled New Year's Eve Plan. "What's in the folder?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. I couldn't look at everything. I heard her car in the driveway and had to leave. But I saw enough. Marissa's voice trembled. "She's planning something big. Something public." She mentioned wanting Daniel to see the real Emily before the year ends. "New Year's Eve," Daniel said. "She has her annual party." "You can't go," Marissa said urgently. "Whatever she's planning, it's meant to humiliate you both. To make you look like the villain in front of everyone." After Marissa left, Daniel and I sat in silence. "We have to go," I said finally. "What? Why?" "Because if we don't, she controls the narrative. She'll tell everyone we didn't come because we're hiding something. She'll paint us as guilty." I took a deep breath. "We need to face whatever she's planning. Head on." Daniel looked at me like I'd lost my mind. Maybe I had, but I was tired of running. Tired of defending myself against invisible accusations. If Elaine wanted a confrontation, I'd give her one. On her terms, in front of witnesses, where lies would be harder to maintain. New Year's Eve arrived faster than I wanted it to. Daniel and I had spent the days leading up to it preparing, documenting everything, talking to a lawyer about our options. But nothing could really prepare us for what Elaine might do. We'd planned a quiet evening at home. Lily was excited about staying up late to watch the ball drop on TV. We'd bought sparkling cider and funny hats. I'd made her favorite cookies. At 7 p.m., Daniel's phone rang. His Aunt Carol. "Daniel, you need to get here. Your mother just announced she has an important family announcement. About you and Emily. Everyone's waiting." My stomach dropped. Daniel looked at me, his face grim. "She's doing it. Whatever she planned, it's happening now." We made a quick decision. Lily would stay with Marissa, who'd already agreed to keep her safe from whatever explosion was coming. We'd go to Elaine's party, face whatever ambush she'd prepared, and end this once and for all. The drive to Elaine's house felt surreal. The streets were decorated for New Year's, people were laughing in their yards, the world was celebrating. And we were driving toward what felt like an execution. Elaine's mansion was lit up like a palace. Cars lined the circular driveway and spilled onto the street. Through the windows, I could see what looked like 50 or more people milling around with champagne glasses. She'd gathered an audience. When we walked in, the conversation didn't stop, but it changed. Voices lowered. Eyes followed us. People whispered to each other behind their hands. Elaine appeared at the top of the staircase like she was making an entrance at a ball. She wore a silver dress that probably cost more than our mortgage payment. Her hair and makeup were perfect. She looked like a queen about to address her subjects. When she saw us, her smile was pure venom wrapped in sugar. "Daniel, Emily, I'm so glad you could make it." She descended the stairs with practiced grace. As she passed me, she leaned close and whispered, "Glad you could make it for your unveiling." The words sent chills down my spine. At exactly 8 p.m., Elaine tapped a champagne flute with a knife. The gentle ringing silenced the room. Thank you all for coming tonight. As we prepare to welcome a new year, I think it's time we cleared the air about some things. About the woman who married my son. My heart started pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. A projector screen descended from the ceiling. Someone dimmed the lights. Daniel grabbed my hand. Whatever happens, we face it together. The first image appeared on the screen. A photo of me from college at a party holding a beer and laughing with friends. Innocent. Normal. But the way Elaine narrated it made it sound sordid. This is Emily at 21. Notice the company she kept. More photos. More twisted narratives. She showed pictures from my social media, carefully curated to make me look frivolous, irresponsible, unsuitable. She showed the cropped photo of me with Greg, suggesting an affair. She showed timelines that made it look like I'd gotten pregnant to trap Daniel. Each image, each lie, was presented with the authority of a prosecutor. And the room was eating it up. She only married my son for his money, Elaine continued, her voice shaking with manufactured emotion. She planned this from the beginning. And that child, that poor child, isn't even his. Turn it off. Daniel's voice boomed across the room. Turn it off right now, mother. But Elaine ignored him, clicking to the next slide. I have evidence, Daniel. Evidence you need to see. Evidence that proves. Stop it, Emma. You're the one who lied. Marissa burst through the front door, wild-eyed and breathless. She was holding a thick binder. The room froze. What are you doing? Elaine's composure finally cracked. Marissa marched to the front of the room and opened the binder. Her hands were shaking, but her voice was strong. You want to talk about evidence? Let's talk about real evidence. She held up the first document. This is a letter from Dr. Patricia Morrison, dated 5 years ago. It's a psychiatric evaluation recommending treatment for pathological jealousy and delusional thinking. For you, Mom. Gasps rippled through the crowd. That's private. That's confidential. You had no right. Elaine started toward Marissa, but Daniel stepped between them. Keep going, he told his sister. Marissa's voice cracked, but she continued. This is a journal entry from Mom's therapist, with Mom's permission to share it with family if her behavior became dangerous. It documents her obsession with controlling Daniel, her belief that every woman he dated was trying to steal him from her. She pulled out more papers. These are screenshots of messages Mom sent to Claire before she and Daniel broke up. Messages threatening to ruin her career if she didn't leave him. Messages that drove Claire away long before she ever cheated. The room was completely silent now. You could have heard a pin drop. Mom, you didn't just dislike Emily. You've sabotaged every relationship Daniel ever had. Marissa's voice broke. You drove away his girlfriend in college by spreading rumors she was using drugs. You destroyed his relationship with Sarah by telling her parents Daniel was unstable. And you tried to destroy Emily the same way you destroyed everyone else. Elaine's face had gone white, then red, then white again. How dare you? I am protecting my son. From what? Marissa shouted. From being happy? From having a life that doesn't revolve around you. He's my son, not hers. Elaine's scream was primal, unhinged. After his father left, Daniel was all I had. And she took him from me. The mask had finally, completely shattered. Elaine's sister moved toward her, concerned. Elaine, you need to calm down. But Elaine was beyond calm. Years of carefully constructed facades crumbled in seconds. She pointed at me with a shaking finger. She doesn't deserve him. None of them did. Daniel is mine.
My son.
My boy. They all try to take him, but I won't let them. I won't. Daniel's face was a mask of grief and horror. Mom, what have you done? Elaine collapsed onto the nearest chair, her breath coming in gasps, her perfectly styled hair falling into her face. The powerful matriarch who'd terrorized me for 7 years suddenly looked small, broken, lost. The room erupted in whispers. Some people pulled out their phones. Others moved toward the door, uncomfortable with the intimate family breakdown they were witnessing. I stood frozen, watching my mother-in-law fall apart, and I felt something unexpected.
Pity.
Not forgiveness. Not absolution. But pity for a woman so consumed by fear of abandonment that she destroyed her own son's happiness over and over again. Daniel knelt beside his mother, tears streaming down his face. "Why, Mom? Why couldn't you just let me be happy?" But Elaine just rocked back and forth, muttering, "My boy. My boy. They're taking my boy." Someone called for paramedics. Elaine's sister thought she might be having a breakdown or a panic attack. When they arrived, they tried to assess her, but she pushed them away, screaming that everyone had betrayed her. "I don't need help. I need my son. They're all trying to take him." The party guests had mostly filtered out by then, leaving in awkward clusters, glancing back with expressions ranging from sympathy to disgust to uncomfortable fascination. Tomorrow, the whole family would know. By the end of the week, probably everyone in their social circle would have heard some version of what happened. Daniel stood off to the side, his face ashen, watching the paramedics try to talk to his mother. I wanted to comfort him, but I didn't know how. What do you say when someone watches their mother completely unravel? Marissa approached me, her eyes red from crying. "I'm so sorry I didn't do this sooner." "You did it when you could," I said, meaning it. That took courage. "She's going to hate me forever." "Maybe. But you did the right thing." After the paramedics finally convinced Elaine to be evaluated at the hospital, after the house emptied, after Marissa's binder sat on Elaine's expensive coffee table like evidence at a crime scene, Daniel and I drove to pick up Lily. She was asleep on Marissa's couch, curled up with her stuffed rabbit. When we gently woke her, she looked up at us with drowsy eyes. Did Grandma get mad again? The innocence of the question broke my heart. "Grandma needs help right now, sweetheart," Daniel said softly. "Grown-up help. But you don't need to worry about it." Lily hugged him tight. "Okay, Daddy." At home, we tucked her into bed with extra kisses. She fell back asleep almost immediately, safe in her own room, unaware of how close we'd come to complete family destruction. Downstairs, Daniel poured us both wine, and we sat in silence for a long time. Some of them believed her, I said finally. Even after Marissa showed them everything, I saw it in their faces. Some of them still thought maybe there was truth to what she said. "I know. Your cousin Angela left before Marissa finished." Uncle Richard wouldn't look at me. "I know," Daniel repeated, his voice thick with exhaustion and grief. Over the next few days, the fallout continued. Some relatives called to apologize, their voices heavy with shame. They believed Elaine's lies so easily because, as one aunt put it, "Your mother has always been so put together, so convincing." Others simply vanished. No calls, no texts, no acknowledgement. Whether from embarrassment or lingering doubt, we didn't know. Marissa called daily with updates. Elaine had been evaluated and released from the hospital, but she was far from okay. She refused treatment, insisting she was the victim in all of this. She'd started sending rambling messages to family members from her phone, long texts claiming Emily had brainwashed Daniel, that Marissa had betrayed her, that the whole family had turned against her. Then came the call I was dreading. "Emily, this is Principal Henderson from Lily's school." My stomach dropped. "Is Lily okay?" "She's fine. But I need to speak with you about something concerning. Someone contacted our office claiming to be Lily's grandmother. She said you were an unfit parent and requested we monitor the situation." My vision went dark around the edges. "What?" "I want to assure you, we take such claims seriously, but we also verify them. I've reviewed Lily's file. She's a happy, well-adjusted child. But I wanted to make you aware that this call was made." After I hung up, I couldn't breathe. Elaine had gone after my daughter at school, had tried to plant seeds of doubt with her teachers, her principal. Daniel's response was immediate. "We're getting a lawyer. Today." The lawyer, a sharp woman named Patricia Chun, listened to everything with a neutral expression. When we finished, she leaned back in her chair. "This is harassment, possibly defamation. And the contact with the school could be seen as an attempt to interfere with your parental rights." She made notes on her legal pad. I recommend documenting everything going forward. Every message, every call, every contact she makes with third parties about you. What if she doesn't stop? I asked. Then we pursue legal remedies. Restraining order. Cease and desist. We have options. But I could see in her eyes that she knew, just like we did, that legal options didn't fix family wounds. They just formalized the damage. That night, Daniel broke down. We were lying in bed, and suddenly, I felt his shoulders shaking. "I don't know how to save her," he whispered. I held him while he cried for the mother he'd thought he had, the one who'd been hiding beneath layers of manipulation and obsession. He cried for the years of sabotaged relationships, for the pain she'd caused, for the future that was crumbling. "You can't save someone who refuses to see the truth," I said gently. "But you can protect us. You can protect Lily. What if I'm making the wrong choice? You're not choosing between us and her, Daniel. You're choosing reality over delusion, health over sickness." He held me tighter, and we lay there in the dark, both of us grieving for different reasons. A week later, a police officer knocked on our door. Daniel opened it while I watched from the living room, my heart in my throat. The officer handed him a document. "Daniel Morrison?" "Yes." "You've been served." After the officer left, Daniel stared at the papers in his hand. His face had gone completely white. "She's suing for grandparent visitation rights." His voice was hollow. "She's claiming you're an unfit mother and that Lily needs her grandmother's influence." The room spun. I grabbed the back of the couch to steady myself. "She's actually doing this," I whispered. "She's taking us to court." Patricia Chen's office was downtown, on the 14th floor of a building that smelled like leather and old books. We sat across from her desk while she reviewed Elaine's petition for grandparent visitation. "This is serious," Patricia said, her reading glasses perched on her nose. "Even though her claims are clearly retaliatory and her accusations are baseless, the court has to review them. They take grandparent rights cases very seriously, especially when mental health or safety concerns are raised." "But she's lying," I said, my voice cracking. "Everything she's saying is a lie." "I know, and we're going to prove that." Patricia pulled out a file, already thick with documents. "But I need you to understand that this will be difficult. Courts are hesitant to completely cut off grandparents unless there's clear evidence of harm." Daniel leaned forward. "The Christmas incident. When she told Lily she didn't belong. That's harm." "It is. And we'll use it. Along with everything else." Patricia looked at me. "Emily, I need you to gather every piece of evidence you have. Every text, every email, every voicemail. The anonymous note. The manipulated photo. Everything." Over the next 2 weeks, we built our case. Marissa contributed her binder of Elaine's mental health documentation and therapy notes. We compiled a timeline of harassment. We gathered character witnesses, people who'd seen Elaine's behavior firsthand. The night before the hearing, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about Lily, about what this would do to her, if Elaine won. About having to send my daughter into that woman's care, knowing what poison she'd pour into her ears. Daniel found me at 3 a.m., sitting in Lily's doorway, watching her sleep. "We're going to win," he whispered. "You don't know that." "Yes, I do. Because we have the truth. And the truth matters." I wanted to believe him. The courthouse was intimidating. Cold marble floors, high ceilings, the kind of place where whispers echoed. We sat outside the courtroom on hard wooden benches, waiting. Elaine arrived with her own lawyer, a stern-looking man in an expensive suit. She looked smaller than I remembered, her face drawn, her makeup unable to hide the dark circles under her eyes. But when she saw us, her expression hardened into something cold and determined. Inside the courtroom, the judge was a woman in her 50s with kind eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor. She reviewed the documents while we waited, the silence broken only by the scratch of her pen and the rustle of papers. "Mrs. Morrison," she addressed Elaine, "you're petitioning for visitation rights with your granddaughter, claiming that her mother is unfit. Is that correct?" "Yes, Your Honor." Elaine's voice was steady, practiced. "My son has been manipulated by his wife. The child, Lily, is being raised in an unstable environment. She needs her grandmother's guidance. Can you provide specific examples of this instability? Elaine's lawyer stood. Your Honor, we have documentation that Mrs. Emily Morrison has engaged in inappropriate behavior, has isolated the family, and has made false accusations against my client. Patricia rose smoothly. Your Honor, may I? The judge nodded. What we have here is not a case of parental unfitness, but a pattern of harassment and delusion by the petitioner. Mrs. Elaine Morrison has a documented history of pathological jealousy, has sabotaged her son's relationships repeatedly, and has engaged in a systematic campaign to destroy her daughter-in-law's reputation. She laid out the evidence methodically. The Christmas incident, the anonymous threats, the manipulated photos, the calls to Lily's school, Marissa's psychiatric documentation. When it was my turn to testify, I walked to the stand with shaking legs. I swore to tell the truth and sat down, facing the judge while very aware of Elaine's eyes boring into me. Patricia asked me to describe the Christmas incident. I took a breath and told the story. About Lily's ornament. About Elaine's whispered cruelty. About my daughter's heartbreak. Can you describe Lily's emotional state after that incident? Patricia asked. She cried herself to sleep that night. She kept asking what she'd done wrong, why her grandmother didn't love her. My voice broke. She's 7 years old. She shouldn't have to feel like she doesn't belong in her own family. Elaine's lawyer tried to discredit me during cross-examination, suggesting I'd coach Lily, that I was exaggerating, that I was the one poisoning the relationship. But I stayed calm and told the truth. Then Marissa testified. She described years of watching her mother sabotage Daniel's relationships. She presented the documentation of Elaine's untreated mental health issues. Her voice shook when she said, "My mother needs help. Professional help. Not access to a child she's already hurt." The courtroom was silent. Elaine's lawyer called her to the stand. She testified that she loved her granddaughter, that she'd never meant to hurt anyone, that she was just trying to protect her son from a woman who'd trapped him. Mrs. Morrison, the judge interrupted. Did you not tell your 7-year-old granddaughter that she didn't belong in the family? Elaine's composure wavered. It was taken out of context. I was upset. Emily had been. It's a yes or no question. Silence stretched out. Then, very quietly, yes. But I didn't mean. The judge held up her hand. Did you contact the child's school claiming her mother was unfit? I was concerned for her welfare. Yes or no? Yes. Did you send anonymous threatening messages to your son and daughter-in-law? Elaine's face flushed. I don't know what you're talking about. Mrs. Morrison, I've reviewed all the evidence. The pattern here is clear. The judge removed her glasses. This petition is not about a grandmother seeking a relationship with her grandchild. This is about control. And when you couldn't control your son's choices, you attempted to destroy his wife's reputation and interfere with their family. Elaine stood up suddenly. He's my son. She took him from me. That child doesn't even look like us. I have a right to know the truth. Ma'am, sit down, the judge said firmly. But Elaine didn't sit. She pointed at me, her voice rising. You stole my son. You turned him against me. Everything was fine until you came along. Security moved toward her. Daniel stood halfway up from his seat. You're not fit to raise that child. She needs me. Daniel needs me. You can't take them from me. Remove her from my courtroom, the judge ordered. As security escorted Elaine out, still screaming, I felt my whole body shaking. Not from fear. From the release of years of pressure, of holding back, of being polite in the face of cruelty. The judge waited until the courtroom quieted. Then she spoke. I'm ordering a full psychiatric evaluation of Mrs. Elaine Morrison. Until that evaluation is complete and appropriate treatment is pursued, this petition is denied. Furthermore, I'm granting a restraining order preventing Mrs. Morrison from contacting the minor child or the child's mother. She looked at Daniel. Mr. Morrison, I strongly suggest your mother get help. Real help. What I witnessed today suggests someone in significant psychological distress. Outside the courthouse, Lily ran into our arms. Marissa had been watching her in the hallway, keeping her away from the drama. "Are we okay now, Daddy?" Lily asked, her small face pressed against Daniel's shirt. Daniel lifted her up, holding her tight. "Yes, baby. We're safe now." Lily looked at me over his shoulder. "Does this mean Grandma won't be mean anymore?" "Grandma won't be around for a while," I said gently. "She needs to work on herself." "Okay." She accepted this with the simplicity of childhood, already moving on. "Can we get ice cream?" We laughed, the sound almost hysterical with relief. 3 weeks later, we heard through Marissa that Elaine had voluntarily checked herself into a treatment facility. Whether it was genuine recognition of her problems or just an attempt to look good for future legal proceedings, we didn't know. Marissa visited her regularly. Daniel chose to wait, to give himself space to heal from the years of manipulation. He wrote his mother a letter, carefully crafted with Patricia's help, explaining that he loved her but couldn't have a relationship with her until she addressed her mental health issues and accepted responsibility for her actions. We didn't know if she'd ever read it, or if she'd understand it, or if she'd ever really change. But that was her journey now, not ours. Spring came early that year. The trees in our yard budded pink and white, and Lily spent hours outside catching butterflies and making fairy houses from twigs and moss. One Saturday morning, she asked if we could decorate our own tree. "A tree? It's not Christmas, sweetheart." "Not a Christmas tree, Mommy. A family tree, where we can hang things we make, just for us." So we did. We found a small artificial tree at a craft store and set it up in our living room. Lily made ornaments, dozens of them, each one glittery and imperfect and beautiful. The first one she hung was red felt with glass beads, the replacement for the one Elaine had rejected. "This is for our family," she announced, "because we're safe here." I hugged her tight, breathing in her strawberry shampoo, feeling the weight of the past months finally beginning to lift. That evening, as the sun set and painted our living room gold, Daniel came up behind me while I was washing dishes. He wrapped his arms around my waist and rested his chin on my shoulder. "Thank you," he whispered. "For what?" "For protecting our family. For being strong when I couldn't be. For fighting for us." He turned me around to face him. "We're finally free, Emily. Really free." I looked past him at Lily, dancing around her family tree, singing to herself, happy and safe and loved. "Yes," I said. "We are." The camera pans out slowly, showing our home through the window. Warm light spilling onto the lawn. A family healed, not unscathed, but stronger for having survived. The long shadow of Elaine's obsession finally receding, replaced by something better. Hope.
Peace.
Freedom. And in the living room, a little girl's handmade ornament catching the last rays of sunlight, spinning slowly, perfectly imperfect. Finally home. Here's my question for you. If someone you loved refused to see the truth about their own destructive behavior, would you walk away to protect yourself, or would you keep fighting to save them? Drop your answer in the comments below, and don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more real stories about family, resilience, and finding peace after the storm.